Advisory. Some episodes of the 1836 podcast are not intended for all audiences due to details that might be considered disturbing. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
This episode of the 1836 podcast digs into the mastermind of CIA Project MKUltra, Sidney Gottlieb, and his tie to Arkansas. Picture this. It's August 3rd, 1918, in the bustling Bronx, New York. A baby boy named Sidney Gottlieb is born to Hungarian Jewish immigrants, Fanny and Louis Gottlieb. Little Sidney comes into the world with 2 club feet and a stutter. Challenges that'll shape his early life in ways we can only imagine. His father's a tailor, running a sweatshop, and the family's Orthodox Jewish roots run deep. He's got an older brother, David, who'll grow up to be a plant biologist. He's bar mitzvahed, excels in school, and graduates from James Monroe High School in 1936. But the big city isn't where his academic journey takes him next. No, Sidney's path veers south and west, to Arkansas. Why Arkansas? Sidney's got his sights set on agricultural biology, a field that's not exactly screaming a Bronx native. He enrolls at Arkansas Tech University, then called Arkansas Polytechnic Institute in Russellville. This is the late 1930s, and he's diving into botany, organic chemistry, and even the principles of dairying. It's a far cry from the urban grid of New York, but it's here, in this quiet corner of the South, that Sidney starts honing the scientific mind that'll later catch the CIA's eye. His success at Arkansas Tech, paired with a glowing recommendation from Ira Baldwin, assistant dean at the University of Wisconsin, gets him into Wisconsin, where he graduates magna cum laude in 1940 with a chemistry degree. From there, it's off to the California Institute of Technology, where he earns his Ph.D. in biochemistry in 1943, writing a thesis on ascorbic acid in cowpeas. But let's not breeze past that Arkansas chapter too fast. It's a quirky little footnote in a story that's about to get a whole lot darker. Fast forward to 1951. Sidney's married to Margaret Moore, a Presbyterian missionary's daughter he met at Caltech, and he's itching to serve his country after being rejected from World War II military service because of those club feet. He's a lifelong folk dancer, picture him twirling despite the limp, and once admitted to a CIA interviewer he'd been a socialist in his youth, a tidbit that didn't stop them from hiring him. He's bounced around government jobs, USDA, FDA, even a stint at the National Research Council studying ergot alkaloids. But he's restless. Then, on July 13, 1951, he walks through the doors of the CIA, hired by Deputy Director Allen Dulles on Ira Baldwin's say-so. Baldwin, a biowarfare guru from Fort Detrick, had kept Sidney in his orbit. The Cold War's heating up, and the CIA's obsessed with staying ahead of the Soviets and Chinese, who they fear have cracked the code on brainwashing. Enter Project Bluebird, soon to morph into the infamous MKUltra, and Sidney Gottlieb's about to become its dark maestro. By 1953, Sidney's running the show as head of the chemical division in the CIA's technical services staff. MKUltra's his brainchild, a sprawling, shadowy program aimed at mastering mind control, truth serums, and psychological manipulation. He's got a budget of millions and a mandate to experiment on anyone, witting or not. LSD becomes his weapon of choice after he tries it himself, hundreds of times, they say, and sees its potential. He's dosing CIA agents, slipping it into drinks at retreats, and testing it on prisoners, mental patients, and sex workers. People he later admits couldn't fight back. One of the most notorious cases, Frank Olson, a Fort Detrick scientist who, in 1953, gets slipped LSD at a Maryland lodge, spirals into psychosis, and plunges to his death from a New York hotel window. Accident? Murder? The Olson family still doesn't buy the official story, and Sidney's fingerprints are all over it. Sidney's role isn't just lab work, though. He's a spy master, cooking up poisons for assassinations, like the biotoxin meant for Congolese leader Patrice Lumumba's toothbrush, and dreaming up wild schemes like lacing Fidel Castro's cigars with LSD or dosing his TV studio. MKUltra's scope is staggering. 149 subprojects, 80 institutions, from universities to prisons. And Arkansas? It's not a stretch to wonder if some of those experiments brushed up against the state's edges. Fort Detrick's biowarfare ties in the South's quiet corners could have made it a testing ground, though hard evidence is scarce, thanks to Sidney's orders to torch most MKUltra records in 1973. Officially, MKUltra winds down in 1973, the year Sidney retires from the CIA at age 55. He's awarded the Distinguished Intelligence Medal, sells his Virginia house, and takes off with Margaret for a 2-year global trek, volunteering in an Indian leper hospital. He's got 4 kids, and later settles in Santa Cruz, California, where he earns a master's in speech therapy from San Jose State, turning that childhood stutter into a tool to help others. By the time he dies in 1999 in Washington, Virginia, he's a reclusive goat farmer, eating yogurt, advocating peace, and dodging lawsuits from MKUltra survivors. But here's where the story gets murky. The CIA says MKUltra's done, but whispers persist. Conspiracy theorists and researchers like Tom O'Neill argue it never really stopped, just went deeper underground. And then there's the web of connections to some of America's most infamous figures. Take Charles Manson. In the late 1960s, he's out of prison, running his family in California, dosing them with LSD to bend their minds. O'Neill's book Chaos digs into Manson's ties to the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic, a CIA-linked spot where MKUltra's LSD experiments might have lingered. Was Manson a witting pawn, a test case for mind control gone rogue? No smoking gun, but the parallels are eerie. Then there's the assassinations, JFK, RFK, MLK. Lee Harvey Oswald, James Earl Ray, Sirhan Sirhan, each tied to theories of MKUltra's long shadow. Oswald's defection to the Soviet Union and oddball behavior sparked questions. Was he programmed? Ray, MLK's alleged killer, drifts through a hazy backstory that some link to CIA hypnosis experiments. Sirhan's lawyer flat out claimed he was an MKUltra puppet when he shot RFK. No hard proof, but Sidney's study of assassination declassified in 1997 shows he was obsessed with turning men into killers. And Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber? As a Harvard sophomore in the late 1950s, he volunteers for brutal psychological experiments under Henry Murray, a CIA-connected shrink tied to MKUltra. 200 hours of stress tests and mind games. Did they break something in Ted that fueled his later bombing spree? It's a leap, but not a crazy one. How does a kid who studied botany in Russellville, Arkansas, end up orchestrating this? Sidney Gottlieb's a paradox. Club-footed folk dancer turned poisoner in chief, a socialist youth turned CIA spy master. His time at Arkansas Tech wasn't some grand conspiracy hub, it was just a stepping stone. But there's something poetic about it. A quiet Southern education launching a man into the heart of America's darkest Cold War secrets. He dies in 1999, leaving us to wrestle with the questions. How much did he know? How far did MKUltra really go? And what's still hidden in the shadows of little old Arkansas and beyond?